Africa produces roughly 10 million barrels of crude oil per day, or BPD, or approximately 13% of global crude oil output. There are 15 existing oil producers in Africa, with Nigeria producing the most and Ghana producing the least. Exploration is taking place throughout Africa as well. In West Africa, this includes Liberia, Sierra Leone, São Tomé and Príncipe, and Niger, with the view that these countries, with the exception of landlocked Niger, might be an extension of deposits found in other Gulf of Guinea sub-region countries. In East Africa, oil exploration activity is occurring in Somalia, especially its Puntland region, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Kenya. Uganda is to begin a modest amount of production in late 2012. Revenues from crude oil production are a significant contributor to these governments' national budgets. Cash generated from crude oil deals also directly shape behavior in African countries, enabling some governments to survive or fall amid crises where controlling the national purse string is the ultimate arbiter of power. Nigeria is currently in a period of limited instability in terms of oil output. President Goodluck Jonathan and his Niger Delta support base have leveraged militant groups in the Niger Delta oil-producing region, notably the Movement for the Emancipation of the Niger Delta, or MEND, to rise into power. Though there is oil stability in Angola, it occupies massive government attention to keep it that way. Securing off- and onshore oil facilities in the northwestern part of the country enabled the Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola, or MPLA, to survive a 27-year-long civil war against two domestic insurgent groups, each of whom had extensive foreign backing. Safeguarding oil infrastructure and production compels the MPLA government to continue to deploy tens of thousands of soldiers to its Cabinda province. Angolan troops are also positioned to destabilize the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DR Congo, government of President Joseph Kabila, should Kinshasa proceed to demand a redrawing of its maritime boundary with Angola and usurp sovereignty over offshore oil there. Ensuring or disrupting stability in Sudanese and South Sudanese oil production is at the heart of tensions between those two countries. These two countries are negotiating terms of separation following Juba's 2011 declaration of independence. Both highly dependent on revenues from oil, maneuvering to shape a final demarcation of their shared border, as well as determining compensation to Khartoum by Juba for oil sector cooperation, are contentious issues that have the potential to spark renewed conflict between the two governments. Resource-supported conflict experienced by other African countries is influencing newcomer producers like Ghana and Uganda to introduce mechanisms to reduce the possibility of conflict. Uganda and Ghana, and even Equatorial Guinea, have discussed legislation to promote greater transparency and accountability for revenues generated from oil production. Kenya and Liberia may look to Uganda and Ghana should any deposits prove commercially viable. The experience of Chad will limit the extent to which African countries adopt artificial political constraints on oil revenues, however. Chadian oil came on stream in the early 2000s, and N'Djamena initially introduced a revenue framework that mandated where the government spent oil revenues. This model effectively collapsed when the government of President Idris Deby needed to increase military spending to defend his power base. Gone was oversight, accountability, and broad-based spending so that defense spending could support his ethnic Zagawa base and protect him from Sudanese destabilization efforts.